All right, we're here from the Central New York Writers Market Showcase, virtual showcase rather, and we're here with the author Carol Poliot. She's a romance,
mystery.
mystery. Uh, um, sorry, mystery time travel type book. And okay, so tell me a little bit about yourself. Where you're from? What are your hobbies other than writing?
Okay, I'm from the Syracuse area, and I'm a former teacher. I taught French and Spanish for 35 years. My first teaching job was in Marseille in the south of France, where I taught English there. And when that was over, I really had a chance to go live anywhere I wanted to. But I decided to come back to the Syracuse area because I really love it here. I like the change of seasons. I love the fall. And I'm one of those people that loves winter. I love snow. So I retired from teaching, like I said, after 35 years, about, 15 years ago. And I hadn't really thought of writing. That came later. So beyond that, hobbies, when I'm not writing, I love to travel. I like going overseas the best. England is my current favorite place. I live in the woods, out in the country. I love watching, the deer, and I get a lot of birds at my window, and I watch them for hours. I like exercising. I swim laps at the gym. I get together with friends. I like to play board games, cards, dominoes, and of course I read. So,
What's your latest book? What's it about? And where can we find it?
My newest book, which is the second book in my Blackwell and Watson time travel series, is called Threshold of Deceit. And for people who have not read the first book, which is Doorway to Murder, as we said a minute ago, I'm writing a time travel mystery series. The mystery part of it is a traditional police procedural, just like any police procedural you may have read. But I threw in the time travel for something a little different. And my time travel is not science fiction. My cop lives in 1934, and that's where he solves the crimes. That's where the murders are. And the time travel part comes when he sees a strange woman in his recently deceased mother's bedroom one night. And it turns out what I decided to use, I used Einstein's theory that all time happens simultaneously and time can fold over, revealing another time that's going on at the same time. So Stephen, my cop, is in 1934. Time folds over in the house where he lives, and he sees Olivia, who lives now in the present day in the same house. So the first book is the two of them, figuring out what's going on, getting to know each other, and then of course Stephen solves the crime. In Threshold of Deceit, it happens, the first one was in February. This is in April of the same year. So it's a couple months later, and they've gotten to know each other pretty well. They kind of hang out in his kitchen or her kitchen in the evening, but they've learned how to move back and forth in time, but only in the house. Neither one of them has been outside yet. So in Threshold of Deceit, I have Olivia leaving the house for the first time, which causes all kinds of problems. Their secret is at risk. She ends up getting involved in Stephen's investigation. The murder in this case is a local ladies' man. He's found dead in a ravine behind the high school. And it happens the day Olivia is coming back into 1934 to stay with Stephen for a few days. So as Stephen is solving this case, which first of all seems pretty straightforward, ends up getting really complicated, Olivia leaves the house and meets some of the people in the town in 1934 and she ends up becoming very good friends with one of his murder suspects. So that ends up actually threatening her life. So that's that one.
Okay, so I take it the next project's going to be the third book of the series.
Yes, and I'm gonna get to work on that again. Monday is my target date. I've had a couple months off for different reasons. But the third one is called Death Rang the Bell. I have a doorway theme going through the series, as you can tell: doorway to murder, threshold of deceit, now Death Rang the Bell. And this is in October of that year, so it's 6 months after Threshold. And Olivia witnesses the murder this time. So that really pulls her into the investigation, and her identity is, at risk of becoming known. The whole idea of the time travel, they are obviously keeping it to themselves. He hasn't told anybody about this, but people begin looking at her in a strange way. Anyway, the murder in this case is the fictional son of Woolworth. The guy who started the Woolworths 5 and dime stores. I found out that the first store was opened and failed in Utica, which is about 15 minutes away from my fictional town of Knightsbridge. So I have the son of Woolworth living across the street from Stephen, and Olivia sees him get murdered. So.
Okay. Who was your favorite author, and what authors influenced you as an author?
Well, in terms of, I guess there's two answers to that. Classically, Agatha Christie. I read her books over and over and over again. I watch all the PBS series. I have a lot of them on DVD. I love those. I never get sick of reading or watching them. They're deceivingly simple. I like the Poirot ones. I've modeled my series after that police procedural kind of thing where you just keep investigating. Of course, in 1934, Stephen doesn't have, DNA kind of, like modern techniques. He has to use his brains, like Murdoch, like Inspector Allen, like Poirot. In my series, there's no blatant sex. There's no violence. They're not cozy. There's a little edge to them, but I wanted to sort of emulate that traditional path of focusing on the psychology of the crime and the procedures. The other writer whom I love is Deborah Crombie. I really like British mysteries. She writes now. She lives in Texas. And what I like about her series is that she has created a real community. Her cops live in London. And as you read book to book to book, the characters in their lives come back from book to book. So you feel like there's a real sense of community, and it makes the book seem more real, I think. So those are two authors I love, and I have all their books.
Okay, what's your biggest challenge as a writer?
Time management. I have some back and shoulder and neck issues, so I can only sit at the computer for about 50 minutes at a time. So I set the timer on my stove in the kitchen. That forces me to really focus for 45 or 50 minutes at a time. Then the timer rings, I go do something else, some of my exercises or, housework or whatever. But being able to schedule everything, I have a lot of physical therapy exercises. I walk every day, I swim laps, and then working in social life. And when I get writing, I don't want to stop. Sometimes I want to just go. So yeah, I think a lot of us feel that way. So just managing my time, and I am forever working on that. in the last few weeks, I haven't really been able to focus on writing, and I've been cleaning out closets and doing things around the house that I've ignored for the last 10 years that I've been writing. So
Yeah, I mean,
yeah, time.
how do you handle negative reviews?
I've been lucky. I only had one that was even mildly negative, and it was by somebody that I know. Her comment, it was about the first book, Doorway to Murder, and she said that although she enjoyed it and she said a lot of good things, she said she was disappointed, she was let down that Olivia didn't have a bigger role. It didn't live up to her expectations. And I did that intentionally, actually. I wanted Stephen to be at the forefront in that first book because these are mysteries before they're anything else. And so I wanted Olivia to have a secondary role. In the second book, Olivia comes to more of an equal partnership almost with Stephen. So I was a little disappointed in that, but you can't legislate people's opinions or expectations, I should say, expectations. Like I said, I've been really lucky. I've been blessed to have good reviews so
Okay,
far.
what's your best advice to give to new authors?
Keep at it. I joined Sisters in Crime, which is a professional crime writers organization. I joined in 2013, and I don't think I'd be published today if it hadn't been for them. It's like I said, it's a professional crime writers association in the United States, Canada, the UK, Australia, and New Zealand, most of the English-speaking countries, not all, but most of the English-speaking countries in the world. And I go to meetings at my chapter down in the Albany area every month. And I remember the first meeting I went to, somebody said, "You have as much chance of getting published as you have getting hit by lightning." It's like, oh, great. And then somebody else said, "Yeah, but there's no such thing as a failed writer, only people who quit." So that would be my number one advice. Join a group, get support, learn. I didn't know anything about writing. I never wrote a rough draft in my life, ever. And here I am writing 12 drafts or 6 drafts or something, and then don't give up. Just keep going.
Okay. Do you design your own book covers, or do you have someone do it for you?
No, my first cover, well, I should say the cover of the first edition of my first book. I was with an author's co-op at that time, and I did have to hire somebody to do the cover. So I hired my niece, who is a brilliant graphic artist, and she did this cover. Then in early 2019, I signed with Level Best Books. They're a traditional publisher, so I didn't have anything to do with the covers. They hired an artist in California by the name of Sean Ike, and he did the covers. I had some input. I was allowed to tell them what I had in mind, but I didn't have any final say by any means. They were in charge of that.
Okay. How do you market your books?
Oh, everything I can think of. I have a website. I'm on Facebook. I'm not a real tech person, and I really prefer in-person stuff. I'm not on Twitter. I don't think I'll ever go on Twitter. Not on Instagram yet, but I am on Facebook. I do have an email list that I, update people who enjoy my books every now and then. I connect with bookstores and do signings and appearances. I've done a lot of online interviews with some of the local authors. As you know, we've done some craft shows, which has been fantastic. I never would have guessed that. I never went to a craft show in my life, but they've been great. I do appearances at libraries, book clubs. Oh my God, I love book clubs. If anybody there is out there who has a book club, let me know. We can Zoom a book club. I've done some on Skype. I'm going to do some on Zoom. I do some in person. I love book clubs. And then I just hope that whoever enjoys my books will tell people about them. You know, leave a review someplace, even if it's 2 words, or just tell people about it, or ask the library to get one. So anything I can think of. Oh, and we went to a brewery in early January. That was something different. Several of the local authors, I contacted a brewery not too far from my house, and I said, what do you think? And we're trying to think outside the box. He said, yeah, let's go for it. And so anything and everything.
How long does it usually take for you to write a book?
Oh, I don't really know. The first one, Doorway to Murder, I didn't know what I was doing. I never realized that what was my rough draft was not my final copy. So that took a few years to figure out. You know, I didn't know anything about writing at the time, and so it took me some time to learn and to work at it, learn the craft. So that was that. The second one, my mother passed away while I was writing it, and I was a basket case for about 6 months. I couldn't function, so that was interrupted. I think if I added all the time together, 6 to 9 months maybe. And then the third one, the same thing. I got about 60% done and my father passed away. So that's been on hold, and hopefully I'll start again Monday. But I guess if I add in all the time and pretend it was like straight through, maybe 9 months, you know, and then a couple months with my editor during, you know, production.
Okay. What famous person would you like to meet someday?
The Obamas. I
Wow.
really admire both Michelle and Barack Obama. I think they're fantastic.
Yeah, my sister, or not my wife rather, she just read a book about um, Michelle Obama. Not too
Her
long ago.
Becoming, was it
Yeah.
her? Yeah, I read that. It was wonderful, wonderful.
Okay. Where can we find your books?
Well, several places. I would first say support your local indie bookstores. The River's End in Oswego has my books, and even with the pandemic right now, their doors are closed, but they're there working, and they're taking phone orders. They're mailing them out. Both books are on Nook and Kindle, and after this week, people in Canada and Europe will be able to get them on Kobo. Amazon, of course. And after this week, there's been a little bit of a snarl getting the print books to Barnes & Noble, but I'm told after this week, they'll also be at Barnes & Noble. You could order online.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you, Carol, for joining us. And we're going to have our next writer. Our next writer will be author not Don Menziano, a close friend of mine. I graduated with him. He'll be coming on at 1. So thanks a
All
lot,
right.
Carol, for joining us.
Well,
And
thank you. Thank you, Nick, for asking me and for doing this. It was fun. I'm going to go out for my walk now.
okay, we'll see you later.
Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.
So no, now we're off. Sorry about that.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. So
All right. Well, thanks again. That was fun.
yeah. Okay, we'll talk to you later then.
All right.
Could you
Take
send
care.
me if for that coffee thing tomorrow? If you could send me the Zoom invite.
Oh, yeah. I'm going to send, thanks for reminding me. I'm going to send a message out today to make sure everybody who wants to is on my list. And I'm going to send the link through email. For now,
Okay.
I think it's Nikki, Denise, Amy, and you. That's all I know for now. So I'm just going to do, I have an email for you. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
you
do.
have.
Yeah, yeah. So I'm gonna put that on Facebook, a message in our group later on.
Okay. All right.
Okay.
Enjoy your walk.
All right. Thanks a lot. Bye.